decades, the idea that governments might secretly investigate the supernatural has existed on the fringe of public imagination, whispered about in late-night radio shows, classified conspiracy forums, and declassified rumor mills that blur the line between fact and fiction. Most people assume these stories belong to folklore, misinterpretation, or deliberate misinformation. But what happens when the evidence doesn't come from anonymous sources or urban legends, but from official government archives themselves? What happens when documents stamped confidential, secret, and top secret quietly admit something far more unsettling than foreign threats or espionage failures? This is where myth ends and record begins. Tonight, we are not exploring ghost stories or speculative horror. We are examining declassified government documents, authentic records released through legal channels, freedom of information requests, and historical disclosures that detail encounters with phenomena officials could not explain. These reports were written by trained observers, military personnel, intelligence analysts, and scientists whose careers depended on accuracy and restraint. The language is cautious, clinical, and deeply unsettling because it avoids sensationalism while documenting events that defied known laws of physics, psychology, and reality itself. Before we continue, it's important to understand what declassified truly means. These documents were once restricted because their contents were deemed sensitive to national security, public stability, or strategic secrecy. They were not released casually. Many were locked away for decades, only becoming public after internal reviews concluded that their disclosure would no longer pose an immediate risk. Yet even in release, some sections remain redacted, entire paragraphs blacked out, suggesting that not everything was meant to be understood. Even now, this is Mr. Whisper's official, and if you value documented truth over comforting denial, make sure you subscribe now. New investigations like this are released regularly, and some stories are too important and too disturbing to ignore. As we move forward, ask yourself a simple but unsettling question. If governments investigated the supernatural seriously enough to document it, what forced their hand? And more importantly, what convinced them it was real? Most people associate Project Blue Book with unidentified flying objects, but buried within its archives are reports that go far beyond aerial sightings. While public summaries focused on conventional explanations, internal memoranda reveal cases that were categorized as unresolved anomalies, events that could not be attributed to aircraft, weather, hallucination, or equipment failure. These cases were not dismissed. They were isolated, cross-examined, and quietly archived. One particularly disturbing report describes a levitating object encountered at a restricted military testing ground. Unlike typical UFO cases, this object was observed indoors, within a secured hangar. According to witness statements from multiple officers, the object emitted no heat, no sound, and appeared to respond to human presence by altering its position. Instruments malfunctioned when brought near it, and after several minutes the object simply vanished, leaving behind no residue, no scorch marks, and no rational explanation. Why would such a case be formally documented instead of discarded? Because skepticism was not optional. Government agencies are structurally hostile to ambiguity. Every unexplained event represents a failure of understanding, and failures demand investigation. Even when conclusions were unsatisfying, the fact that these encounters were preserved suggests something deeply troubling. The investigators could not prove they were false. What remains unsettling is not what Blue Book explained, but what it couldn't. Internal correspondence reveals frustration, confusion, and concerned that certain phenomena did not fit any known scientific or psychological model available at the time. These weren't believers chasing ghosts. They were professionals documenting anomalies because ignoring them posed a greater risk than acknowledging them. Among the most chilling declassified records are reports of unexplained activity within secure government facilities. These were not abandoned buildings or historic landmarks, but active installations guarded around the clock. In several cases, personnel reported recurring apparitions, disembodied footsteps, sudden temperature drops, and the sensation of being observed in restricted zones where no unauthorized access was possible. One file, unofficially referred to as the Silent Visitor, details repeated sightings of a human-shaped figure within a classified site known only as Site X. Surveillance footage repeatedly failed during these incidents, and guards described encountering a presence that neither spoke nor interacted. It simply appeared, observed, and disappeared. Psychological evaluations ruled out stress hallucinations, and environmental tests showed no toxic exposure or structural anomalies. Even more disturbing was the response. Instead of public disclosure, the facility quietly reassigned staff, altered patrol routes, and commissioned internal research into anomalous perception events. The objective was not to debunk the phenomenon, but to understand its operational impact. Around the same time, intelligence agencies began exploring a radically different approach: psychic surveillance. If unknown forces could observe secure locations, could humans learn to do the same? Operation Stargate remains one of the most controversial intelligence programs ever acknowledged. Officially launched to investigate remote viewing, the alleged ability to perceive distant locations without physical presence, the program operated for years under scientific oversight. While critics focus on its failures, declassified summaries confirm something far more unsettling. It worked often enough to justify continued funding. One publicly acknowledged case involved a missing individual. Remote viewers, working independently, described the same geographic features, structures, and environmental conditions. When investigators followed the information, they located remains in a region matching the descriptions with disturbing accuracy. Internal reviews labeled the outcome statistically improbable. Ethical debates soon followed. If such abilities existed, were they a resource or a liability? Could they be weaponized? Could they be defended against? The program was eventually terminated, at least officially, but final conclusions remain partially classified, leaving one haunting implication: the government may have ended public research, but not belief. Even with thousands of pages released, the most important questions remain unanswered. What wasn't declassified? Which encounters were deemed too disruptive, too dangerous, or too incomprehensible for public knowledge? Modern agencies now use different language: anomalous phenomena, non-conventional threats, unknown origin events, but the pattern remains unchanged. History shows us one thing clearly: governments investigate what they fear could be real. They do not allocate resources, personnel, and secrecy to fantasies. Whether these phenomena represent undiscovered science, external intelligence, or something far stranger is still unknown. What is known is this: the official record confirms the supernatural was never ignored, only hidden. This is Mr. Whisper's Official. If you believe truth deserves examination, subscribe now. Explore these archives yourself and decide what reality truly allows. Because some secrets were buried, not to protect us from fear, but to protect fear from us.